It's like, but when I hear the issues, it's not like we talk about snow removal. That didn't even come up one time. Nobody talked about it.
Because we're not in the middle of the winter. That's right. If the election was in January and February, you'd be. I bet your bottom dollar we'd be talking about snow removal. Because unfortunately, our collective memory is very short, and November is a great time to have an election. Because it's not in the middle of the hot, sweltering summer when everybody's at their cottages. And the other reason why it's great to have elections in November is because fall is generally pleasant. You have the changing colors. It's nice, and people are in a generally, they're around. Kids are back at school, and it's a good time for politicians, right? Because the failures of our services is less, in my mind, visible. Because our parks are not being taxed so much because kids are in school, and because they have the foliage and the grass gets green again because it's not being burnt by the summer, and so there's politics behind that too. Why is the election in November and not in January, December?
I never thought about that. I see that point a lot. But I guess
our snow removal sucks, right? What happened was that. Yeah, under Koopman, which Perez was an important member of that administration, but Perez won't answer to that, of course. They centralized snow removal services. So being the nut job I am, I made an access information request for the complaints for snow removal. And after snow removal services were centralized, they spiked. They went through the roof. So, that was a failure. And that policy decision was a failure. And the other main huge failure of that was that they deducted our budget by $17 million. So they took the money away from us to deal with our local snow removal needs. And what happens is that if we have a particularly severe winter and we have more than a number of truckload removals of snow, they ding us. They charge us extra. So they take money away from our already meager, small, minuscule, crappy budget. And then the inverse of that is that if we have a mild winter, right, and they have a huge surplus in the snow budget, we don't get that money back. The central city keeps it. And I do remember several instances under the Applebaum administration where when they had surpluses in the snow budget, we were able to invest that in the community. It became a surplus the community was able to enjoy. Mm-hmm. So that's a deal that Perez did. So thank him for that.
I feel that. So even as we're talking about all this, I'm sitting here going, man, if I'm 18, I don't give a shit about any of this. What are the so how does let's think about this practically then. So if nobody can connect to young people, and I'm gonna go with the childless, and the more you skew young, the more parallels you're gonna find with that. Right. What are the incentivizations for a young person to actually care? Even at that point, what is the benefit to let's say a 20-year-old's life if the city goes in a good way?
Well, it's no matter what the demographic is, you're not going to be able to appeal to all people all the time. It's just not possible, right? It's politics, right? So it's kind of like you're trying to do buckshot, hit as much people as possible. So in terms of my perspective and idea of engaging young people, first of all, we need to modernize our election system, right? This idea that a lot of young people are not on the roll, not registered, and they actually have to physically go to a location to sign up, to be registered, to be on the election roll. That's just bullshit. No young person's going to do that, right? They register for the courses online. They do everything online, yet the city thinks they're going to, walk down or go to an obscure office in the borough to sign themselves up to vote. And young people are like, what the hell is this? Why can't I sign up online? They should be able to. And I'm also open to the idea of online voting. We should allow people to online vote, and we should use the tools that are available. I spent 15 years in IT, and IT isn't a powerful thing. And look at this meeting we're having right now. We're both in our respective homes, and we're able to have a conversation and discuss things. And, we're making eye contact. Why isn't that our counselors weren't able to do that with council meetings? They basically shut them down under the guise of the pandemic, operated behind closed doors. It's just, it really.
That one's wild. Okay, that's a wild thing to me. So like, I do want to go back to the kid thing, but like,
I
don't understand why the council would shut down and not like, why isn't the Zoom calls public and stuff? Like, to me, like, it's wild. Like, it is that easy to do this.
It is. It's like
zero cost. Sorry, Zoom cost me $20 a month.
My feeling on it is they like it that way. And look at what happens in the elections. Like, I'm gonna use Lenio Perez again because he deserves it. He his accountable for his track record. His track record. He wins his district. He's never won the popular vote. He has the worst participation rate in the city, in the borough. Like, only 23% of people vote. Eligible voters vote. Only 23%. So he's winning elections with like 9% of eligible voters, and he's only got a spread of 2%, like 600 voters. And what has Perez done to improve democracy? What has he done to get people out to vote? How is he has he ever raised this issue? Never. No. He's against changing the electoral system. He's against term limits. He favors what they call preferential voting. Preferential voting that's preferential to him. So this is the toxic, broken system which we find ourselves, which we're involved with in CDN-NDG. And the other thing too is that, I
don't think it's just CDN-NDG. I think that.
Yeah, no, it's a larger issue. But again, think globally, act locally. I gotta focus on my piece because I can't change the world. So no, you're absolutely correct. And there's a lot of gerrymandering going on, right? We see that in the States. It's called gaming the system, right? So you game the system so the election results are favorable to you, whatever it is.
Redrawing the lines of the districts in order to move voters in the right category.
Make it harder for poor people to vote in apartments. They have to go to some office to get them on the register list.
Like younger voter question. I'm gonna be real with y'all. Old people, anyone probably over the age of 40 is not gonna like where I'm gonna go with it. But it's basically like y'all been.
I'm over 40, by the way.
and I say it because I get the same resistance. Like people are people. So if only 30% of people are voting, stop trying to talk to them and talk to the other 70. Like, evidently what you're doing isn't connecting with the other. Because I think the federal election had a 32% turnout rate this time around.
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's ridiculous.
Everybody's gambling on the same 30% and ignoring the other 70%. That is my perception of the situation.
It's absolutely true.
It doesn't take into account reality. Now, I'm personally a public figure in the making in my head. Now, I chose this life, but every politician's a public figure by choice as well. Right. Why are the social obligations of me as a public figure who isn't even employed by people different than that of a politician that is taking my money? I very much expect my politicians to have people on staff to answer my questions, even if they don't do it themselves. I expect the politicians to create content on social media to communicate their ongoing ideas. Like, if I was in charge, I can tell you the only thing I would do really different is y'all would see me being like Viva Frey, where I'm on YouTube all the time, telling you what's up. And I absolutely know how little it costs to produce a bad YouTube video, which is all I expect from my politicians. And I know for a fact it's a fear of change and an unwillingness to sacrifice the 4 hours it would take them to learn how to do it. That's it. Right. So
I've done some videos. I did a video, which I'll share at the end of this podcast, on what happened in Snowden in the last municipal election to outline why our system's broken. But I haven't done a lot.
But then I find even more than that, right? I know there's going to be a knowledge gap. So let's say I'm going to run for politics. I'm going to go hit up a university 2 years in advance and start fishing for people that want to be on board with skills I need. Yeah. And like, I feel like people treat the city municipal thing very last minute and are used to canvassing door to door, and that they never really considered every other evolution to online marketing that businesses have adapted to, from like snail mail to like now. Like, I don't know. I'm sure there's mailing lists. I'm sure there's like stuff that people do, but yo, for the last 5 years, it's been far too. Like, Donald Trump had YouTube channels and stuff. Like, I don't want to bring him up, but like, he really wrecked politics and won. So like, evidently the old rules don't make a lot of sense in the current climate because you don't have to follow them to win. You have to get attention to win. And so it's like, if everyone here is addicted to American political cycles, how are people going to come through with like calm, boring Montreal stuff and expect to make some noise and make anyone care? And for the salary of a city councillor, I'm kind of like, y'all should work a little harder to get that money, to be 100% honest. I'm going that the number of people I've talked to who have kind of told me that they can't do things I'm willing to do for my dreams as extra time is a little weird to me. Oh, I don't get paid is an excuse you don't accept it from an entrepreneur. So I don't know why I would accept the no from a political candidate. So I'm like looking at it like every time you get to any kind of a modern move, yo, why is nobody in the park with an amp? It costs $50 to rent an amp for a month. Like where was like the actual like cool stuff is, I guess, where I'm going with it.
I hear you.
And maybe people don't know. That's fine. But it's the unwillingness to try.
Don't know what? How to engage in the process? Don't know how the system works?
How to talk to anybody outside of what's been done before. It's like unless it's been done before, nobody's willing to try new things.
It takes guts and it takes courage. You know, putting yourself out there, you expose yourself. You know, this is something I have to deal with on a daily basis. I have a wife, I have kids. So, you know, you say something and, you know, there's people clearly who don't like me because I challenge conventions and I don't like how the system works. And there's a lot of people in CDN-NDG who like the system and how it works because they get, you know, they get their meager money. You know, they're getting their little slice of the pie, which is incredibly small. And my argument to that is that we're all getting played, right? At the end of the day, right? Because we're being underfinanced at a $15 million a year that comes out to $60 million in a mandate. So $60 million over 4 years, excuse me. Imagine what we could do with that money. But the central city and our politicians, they're smart. They say, oh, we don't need that extra $15 million because all we need to do is because nobody votes. We're just going to buy the Italian vote. We're just going to buy the Jewish vote here. We're going to buy the Filipino vote there, and we'll win the election. We don't have to like deal with the major financial issues that are confronting the borough. We can just buy basically special interest routes. We can buy communities and then basically ignore the larger needs of the community as a whole. But at the end of the day, it hurts everyone because what happens is that because the election system is broken, our politicians can get elected by basically servicing just a very small percentage of the population and get their votes they need to get over the top.
So I guess for me, it's like nobody knows this. Nobody knows this to the level of detail. And let's be real.
I was an Applebaum, and I know the groups that are targeted. There's the Italian community in St. Raymond's. They got a $400,000 bocce court roof. Don't ask me how that happened. There's the Filipino community who vote en masse. There's the Jewish Orthodox. That's where Perez gets his power from. He basically wins his elections basically from the Orthodox community and the Filipino community. Anybody who's involved in local politics who understands the day-to-day street level will, you know, they can't argue with that. Like that's the fact.
So I guess it comes to me like businesses had to change their strategy to go from hard retail offers, which is what I feel most politicians are doing, to soft sell seduction via content and education. So,
well, you're asking business had to change because they were forced to. They needed to remain. They needed to maintain
only
30%
of people be voting.
Yeah, but the politicians that are winning elections like it that way.
So I guess
it works for them. Why would they change it?
So I hear that, but that's where it's like, and
we got the Foxes taking care of the hen house, right? They're the guys that basically have the power and the tools to change the system to make it more democratic, more open, more representative. But they're not because it gets them elected. It's as simple as that. It's not brain surgery.
But I don't think people realize how much their vote really actually could sway this. I don't think people are cognizant of that due to like
they're not.
And you know what? And I realized it might not even be fully like the responsibility of like candidates in full to run this. Like One of the things I learned from Peter McQueen was, I guess, the effectiveness of citizen organization and collectivism within the community to care. I've learned about, collecting petitions and how to do all that right. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that I only know because y'all agreed to talk to me for extended period of times. And let's be real, the number of people that can have a one-on-one to the length that I can and go as deep as I can in the way that I can, because y'all have to behave, is like not as common as the average person might get.
Very, very, very rare. And we have to also ask our question, I'm being honest with myself, and I think it's important that we be honest with ourselves. And it's like, how many people have listened to this conversation right now from beginning to end, or to beginning to this point? And, how many people are reaching? And I'm challenged to answer that question. I don't know.
I could say that there's about 6-7 people that have watched this pretty much consistent.
So the problem is, so 6-7 people is not going to change politics in CDN-NDG, unfortunately.
No.
And the big challenge I have is getting my message out. And again, to be honest and frank, I'm not getting the type of coverage that I was expecting to get from the media, the main media outlets in the city of Montreal. The Gazette has effectively ignored us. They haven't reported on Team Equipe CDN-NDG whatsoever. I find that a little disappointing, considering that I've been at this for 20 years. But this is the problem. People don't know. And I'm sure people would challenge my perspective on things, but, I'm a numbers man. So, I after the elections, I go poll by poll, and I see where the votes are coming from.